name is Jennifer Varner, and I am choosing to do a video response to the uh, ITL 510 signature assignment on a read aloud to a group of students. I chose a pop-up book titled The Wide-Mouthed Frog to read to a group of students of kindergarten and first graders. And the rationale behind choosing this book is because the teacher indicated that the small group of students were getting ready to create their own pop-up style book. And I also recognized that this book had beautiful, bright, fun colored pictures, and it was a fun story that had repetitive phrases that I knew this age group would really catch on, and I was hoping that they'd be engaged and join me in their reading, and that's exactly what happened. The process that I took for preparing for this read aloud, I made sure that I was familiar with the story. I also am a lead teacher at this time for 7th and 8th grade, and I practiced reading this story to them. And if I can get them to be engaged in this type of story, then I knew that I probably had a good chance with the younger crowd. And they really did enjoy this story as well, as far as middle schoolers can. Before I started the read aloud, I was excited to see the group of students in front of me. They were attentive and eager to hear what I had to say before I even began. As I mentioned before, I'm a teacher for 7th and 8th grade, and this is not always the case. I do not always have their attention when I stand up or I'm before them getting ready to speak. But with kindergartners and first graders, they were sitting crisscross applesauce and looking at me so attentively that it filled me with excitement for the story that we were about to go through together. When I began reading, I again had all of their eyes glued on me and their hands ready to go up in the air if I had any questions to ask them. And while I was reading, I can see that they were paying close attention as I was turning each page because there was a new pop-up that appeared on every page, and they were also so interested in the animals and the details of the great illustrations that were provided in the book. While I was reading, I would give slight visual cues to prompt them in repeating phrases that were consistent throughout the book. And sure enough, without even asking them, they started reading right along with me. And that was one of my goals that I was preparing. And so I was excited to see that it was working and that they were actually saying the words that were appearing on the pages. And when I was done, I could see that they were all so excited and happy to have that story read to them. And really, truly, I would have loved to read another book because their attention was just right there. Their reactions before, during, and after, as I mentioned, they were just very engaged. They were excited to see what would appear on the next page. They were following along, comprehending the story. They understood at the end of the story why the wide-mouthed frog was avoiding the alligator and made his mouth real small. They knew that the frog did not want to be eaten by the alligator, and so that was the whole moral of the story. And so they were engaged and right there with me, understanding what the story was about. Um, I think some of the strengths that I had, I'm very animated and expressive in nature, and for this age group, that was something that helped have them be engaged in the story. I think that some of the expression and animation was a bit to a fault. There were times when I reviewed the video and I felt like I was speaking a little lower than what their age group um, should have been. But given the reaction to the story, I think for this occasion it was okay. But I think one of my challenges is that I really want to understand the audience that I'm reading to and not just be overly expressive for the just to be overly expressive. Um, what could I do differently to improve my next read aloud? I don't think I did my introduction and conclusion to the book as well as I could have. I know I mentioned the title. I mentioned how I asked them how they knew that was the name of the story regarding title, but I didn't ask them about the illustrator or the author or that this story had been passed down as an oral story, like a folk tale, and that some historical information that I could have shared with them. And I think I would do that a little bit differently next time, as well as conclude it more appropriately. Um, what did I learn about reading out loud aloud to children? I love to. And I don't think that there is an age in school where you should stop reading out loud. I still read aloud to middle school students. I did a read aloud of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe of the Narnia series. And I think in order for them to really understand the context of the story, you have to hear the characters, the way that they were designed to be expressed. And sometimes that doesn't come natural to students. And so reading it aloud and then having them go through independently really helps them comprehend the story and some of the different themes that are throughout the story that we can go through together, as well as the vocabulary. What did I learn about myself as a teacher? I am learning every day, and I know that I will continue to learn as a teacher. I learned new things just with this assignment alone. I thought that I understood the rationale for reading aloud, and I didn't. I didn't understand all the background, the importance of reading aloud, and I've added to my toolbox, and I continue to add to my toolbox every single day. So that wraps up my video reflection of reading aloud, and I hope that you enjoy the video.